Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Ed. Today I'm going to be talking about SHIP, Seanergy Maritime Holdings Corporations. So this stock has plummeted quite a bit in the last day, and I'll mention why in terms of different things. And I'm going to go later on look into more further DD, not just technical analysis, into the company, including how much cash they have in hand, as well as their fleet and their fleet activity. I've tracked it all down. So there's a little bit of work here that I've put, and I'll first go on with technical analysis, and then I'll go through the DD, then I'll give my opinion on this stock. So in terms of technical analysis here, we can get to see that the 10 SMA is above the 30 MA, which is good news here. The stock is trading very close to the trading action zone. That's another good news here. We're looking at the average directional index to being around 34. So it's a good area to be in, but nothing has changed much. You need to look at it from more of an intra perspective into the 1 hour period. William percent R is being currently at an oversold situation, so that's pretty good in terms of the stock right now. Momentum has dropped quite a bit, so there's potential for it to increase back on from this bottom. The MACD signals a little bit of an alarm here where it's decreasing, but that could just be for the last day, so we need to look at it more through an intra perspective. So looking into 5 days, 1 hour period, as it loads here, we get to see that the stock isn't going to probably increase just a little for it in the pre-market, but we need to make sure that increase stays there. So we might have something like where the price is stagnant and you get this period here. So what has happened for this stock is that it's been seeing a reverse split that is hitting out sometime soon for 1 to 16 reverse split. So this would be a very similar to XSPA scenario where reverse split really hits the price, and then perhaps you see maybe a little bit of a growth afterwards, where technicals and the fundamentals catch on. So first things first here. On the short term, the SMA and the 30 MA don't look good, but it's still currently below the 200 SMA, which would fix itself. The last offering price was around 0 to 12, so it's around a little bit above that. Well, we're dealing with very short sense, so it's still considerably a large amount. The stock is currently sitting at a support, but I'll have to look into the 1 hour period in order to determine that support. So just looking quickly into that, we get to see that the current support is sitting at a 0.16, somewhere around this area here. Going into the 5 days, 1 hour again, we get to see that it's still completely oversold for the last day. Nothing much to see here other than just a reverse split and a little bit of the earnings over there coming in. So going into towards the moving average, we can get to see that it has drawn back into the moving average, which means it has probably stabilized for the time being. Going into trend line, this was a trend line I drew before for my last DD for this stock, and you get to see that it did break that trend line because of news, and it fell pretty hard. So there's not another trend line I can think of drawing, but if this stock was to follow back to the trend line, it would still jump. We'll see a little bit of recovery. So now going in a little bit towards the news aspect. So this is a list of all their fleets, and what I've done here is I went on and I tracked every single vessel they have to try to see their activities, and I'll go to that in a second here. First of all, we're going to go quickly through the presentation. Just a couple of things that I've noticed here is that they do have at least an increase of capitalization from last year. Their loans are pretty high, but it seems that they're actually paying off their long-term debt, and their total debt has decreased. Keep in mind that that money is in thousands. Now, in terms of the current financial income, so you can get to see that there has been a little bit of decrease in the operating days, but in terms of the net profit, net operating revenue, we're not seeing much difference. It's only 3% for 13% less operating days. So there might be a little bit of differences that we're seeing here. That's in terms of the whole year. Now, going quarter to quarter, quarter 4 2019, quarter 4 2018, so this is still pre-COVID. We get to see that there is decrease in terms of the operating days, but we can get to see 37% growth from 2019 to 2018, which is amazing, with less operating days. So there is growth for this company. That's a silver lining I'm seeing for this company here. Not a lot more information to see here, but let's take a quick look into tracking their vessels. So you can go to their website. This is the website I'm using. It's called marinetraffic.com, and you get to basically see a little bit of the current movements So this one here, it is anchored currently, and it has traveled. So one of them here is anchored. It's not going to show the track option quick. Okay, so it doesn't want to show, but it is anchored. So one of them is anchored, so there's no current movements. This one, second one here, it actually has moved. All right, so let's get this one quickly. Okay, so we get to see this one. Is it anchored? Nope, it's still within the movements. It's taking a trip from the 22nd to the 5th, so it's still within movements. So that's 1 out of 2 anchored. This one here, it's no longer showing up, so it just went offline, but it was moving. So that's 1 out of 1 out of 3 anchored. Here, I'll go back to this in a second. Going into this one here, we get to see that this one is already anchored as well. So that's another one anchored there. So 2 out of 4 anchored. This one is anchored currently as well and is sitting in at a port. So that's 3 out of 5 anchored. And then we get this one here, which is also anchored. So 4 out of 6 are anchored here. And then taking a quick look into this one is not anchored, so 4 out of 7. This one here is not anchored. Yeah, so 4 out of 8. And then we're gonna go to this one here. This one is not anchored, but it's carrying really close to Hong Kong. So this one, 4 out of 9, not anchored. It's getting ways. Looking at the last one here, this one is not anchored. So you get to see that only 40% of their current fleet are anchored or at a port. So when I'm saying anchored, it doesn't mean that it's just sitting idling. It's actually still could have meant that it is actually at a port. As we see, for instance, in this situation here, it has gone, it probably is unloading since 4 days now, so including this weekend as well. So it's still fine in terms of taking a quick look into what the company is doing. So it seems that they are active. They haven't hit basically a COVID streak. Looks like they were affected a little, but in terms of the growth on average, it seems that it'd be good activity. It seems that the marine time for their fleet is still active, so they're not very much affected by the whole COVID thing, especially since shipping is still important between countries. So that's been my one TD. So where would I buy it myself? So let's take a quick look and try to see into perhaps the Fibonacci retracements for the current being. So I mentioned that 0.12 was the offering price. And then again, I mentioned that around 0.16 was the support, and we can see resistance here at 0.8. So I don't see any current supports for Fibonacci retracements. So what I would like to do is I want to catch it very similar to what XSBA happened. So I imagine that until that split happens, people are going to be confused or not comfortable holding through a split. So what's going to probably happen is that the price is going to continue bleeding until that split, and then we'll see a recovery. And this is what we've seen with XSBA, for instance. So XSBA, let's look into 1 day. It has seen a 1 to 3 split, went to $4, and then it did jump to $5 as well. So that's a 25, almost 30% here increase. To some point, if you look at the 4 to 574, that's considered almost 50% increase. So what I would like to do is I would like to get ship after the reverse split, and we'll have to look into somewhere where 0.12 is with 16. So that price would technically be higher than what it is right now, but with the reverse split, it's just an accounting trick. So after the split, I would like to see this price to be able to pick it up somewhere around $1.92. So that's my opinion. Make sure to do your own DD. Please tell me, please comment down below what you feel about this stock and your opinion. Have a wonderful day, and make sure to comment, subscribe, and like.